All right, we go 3, 2, and 1. All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean. Today we're going to wrap up our second episode here before the Christmas holiday. Doing a little random flight. You know, we had a great guest, Bob Bly, on in our first episode. Second episode, we're going all over the place. We're going to cover some offers, talking about offers that you'd be stupid to say no to, right?
Yeah. That's a good offer.
That's a good offer. Some other random flights, marketing, some lessons from Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
My Buc-ee's hat on.
Yeah, which more and more people are discovering as they move across the country. And then we'll have I've got 3 best of questions for you and our listeners. But obviously they won't be able to answer unless they join us on the comments. But yeah, I've got a couple best of questions for the year, kind of reflection. And then even our beer today, as we kick off, it's kind of a JV story and kind of a good little entrepreneurial marketing story. So I'm excited to jump into that as well.
Good. Yeah.
So we're actually this is new, right? Because we're both drinking the same thing this week.
That's right.
I sent you one of these. So the thing is, about a month ago, I was, you know how there in pretty much every neighborhood, there's like a community newspaper that comes out like once a month. It's got community news and highlights. Well, this company was mentioned. They had a 1-page write-up in this community newspaper, and it was this company called Invader Coffee. And I was like, that looks a lot like Black Rifle, you know. They have the same kind of veteran-owned.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I looked them up on their website, and they're just 3 or 4 miles down the road from me here in Austin. And I was like, I want to go check them out, and just never got around to it. And then all the stuff happened with Black Rifle, and I was like, you know, I want to go at least like check these guys out. Maybe I can recommend them, you know, whatever. Sure enough, we go over there. You know, it's a little shop. They used to sell like T-shirts and do some other stuff before they got into coffee. But yeah, it's called Invader Coffee. And, you know, 5 people, I think, together kind of own it, started up. And my wife, who just started drinking coffee in the last year.
Wow.
She's like, this coffee is so good.
It's good. It's really good.
So what they do is they like air roast it instead of like pan roast it, which is how most roasters work. It's on a hot pan, and it kind of just, they stir it, things like that. This is air roasted. So it, for whatever reason, it causes less like aftertaste and things like that. And that's what I've noticed. It's like just so smooth.
Yeah.
So we got a couple bags. They're always like selling out as soon as they make a batch. But then while we were in there, I'd already bought today's beer, which is Infamous Brewing Bad Santa. It's a coffee stout.
Yeah.
I'd already bought this the week before to use on the show. And then we went and visited that place, the Invader Coffee. And I saw that they had these stouts in their fridge. And I was like, that's weird. Like, and she's like, yeah, they use our coffee to brew the beer, the Bad Santa beer.
Wow.
And literally this place is 100 yards. They're 100 yards from each other.
Wow.
So they literally take a box of the Bad Santa coffee, which I have some here.
Okay. Nice.
And they like take it over to the brewery and the brewers use it to make their coffee stout. You know,
nice.
Their seasonal coffee stout. So it's just a good example of like, you know, two local companies in the same community, same values, working together to
hand in hand.
Yeah, create a cool new product, even if it's only, you know, a temporary product. So Infamous Brewing Company. I've had another one of their beers on, and it was the one, you'll probably remember this. It was the Sweep the Leg. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, I do.
That's the same company.
Oh,
the Sweep the Leg.
Okay.
So Bad Santa is the type of coffee. It's a coffee stout made with Invader Coffee.
Well, I got mine last week. Nice little package from Mr. McCool here. Had one of these in there. Had some delicious homemade cookies.
Yep.
From his wife that were just amazing.
Yep.
And also had some of the Invader coffee, which I have been
I sent
brewing
you
just
the
about every morning.
Mexican. Yeah, I sent you the Mexican chocolate because that's all they had left at the time.
The smell is so good in the morning.
Yeah. So good. So
like I grind it, like I run it through the grinder in the evening, and I put it. And I probably shouldn't do that because I hate doing all that stuff in the morning. You probably have a fresher if you grind it first thing in the morning, then put it in the pot.
Well, if it's in kind of a semi-sealed, it'd be fine.
Yeah,
it's not out for very long.
I just like to be able to wake up, walk
Just
into the
press the
kitchen,
button.
and press the button.
Yeah.
But man, I've got to tell you, that smell in the morning is just the aroma of that coffee brewing is amazing. I love it. And
well, if you want
Rachel loves it too.
If you want to find out more about Invader Coffee, you can visit persuasionbythepint.com/coffee. Set up a little link there that forwards over to their site.
Beautiful.
And if you buy from there, that is an affiliate link. It'll pay us a whopping, I don't know, 10% or something.
We'll get some coffee.
We'll put that towards our coffee budget. So if we ever do a morning podcast, we can start doing coffee blends.
Oh man, that is some excellent coffee. I got to tell you, and I mean, I obviously not just saying it for the affiliate or the the affiliate link, but that what you sent me this week, the brew that you sent me is just so good in the morning.
There's something about I mean, it literally has no aftertaste. Like it just
it doesn't.
It's amazing. I've tried a lot of different coffees.
I brew it. I push the button. I brew it. I get my really big mug. I just fill that big mug up.
Yeah.
And then I start reading. The first thing I had to do is just sit down at the table, start reading a few articles, get my morning reading in.
Are you an open mug guy, or you use like a Yeti mug with a top, or what?
I'm an open mug. No, I'm an open mug in the morning when I'm just sitting at the table. I'm open mug. If I'm like going somewhere, I've got my my little Yeti or my my little Yeti cup that's ready to fill up, and then that got the closed lid on it that I take with me on the go. So
my dad is an open cup mug guy, but he does it everywhere. Like he'll put it in his car, he'll jump into Weigel's or wherever, Pilot, down there. He'll fill that cup up to the very top, and he'll set it in his cup holder, and the thing's just splashing all over the place.
Oh my goodness!
When he goes anywhere, and I'm like, how do you do that? You got coffee stains going down the center console.
It's
like man,
just doesn't like the top on it. Huh?
He just doesn't like the tops for some reason. I don't know. He's old school, that boomer generation, I guess. It's like I ain't doing no top. It's like
I do have
cool off fast enough.
I've got one of these big, and I have done this. I have to admit, I have done this before, but I've got one of these big, thick Georgia Bulldog mugs. It's got the little kind of the base at the base of the mug. It's really wide. It kind of starts to expand out, so it's conducive to setting on the top of your dash. You just don't want to forget it, right? When you start driving, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So
take a corner too fast, and
there you go. Yeah.
Whatever. Take off too fast.
That's right. Which I haven't been known to do before. So anyway.
All right. Well, this is a basic coffee stout. I have not had this yet, so we'll be experiencing this together.
Oh, good. So first time for you, first time for me. So this will be interesting that we're both having the same. It's been a long time since we both had the very same thing.
Yeah. So I'll let you pour. I've already poured mine.
Okay. I've cleansed my glass and hopefully my palate from our last episode.
Did you air steam your glass for purity?
I did not.
All right. Well,
cheers.
All
right. Cheers.
Hope it's good after all that buildup.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm so used right now to like flavored stouts of all kinds with the Christmas and all this stuff that this is just a plain coffee stout, even though it's a bad Santa.
Sure.
That Because I can't remember what the Bad Santa coffee has in it. It's got a couple extra things, but it doesn't say on the bag. But anyway, this is just a good coffee stout.
I love this can. Look at that. And very creative.
It's the same characters that are on the coffee.
Yep.
The little elves, little
look like teenage ninja elves or something.
All right, so 1 to 5 pints.
Ooh, man, here we go. So we're actually, this may be the first episode where we're doing a rating, where we're having the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're giving our own. Oh, man.
So to me, it tastes like a Guinness with a shot of coffee in it, a shot of cold brew in it. That's what it tastes like. So there's nothing fancy about it. It's just straight coffee stout.
No. Yeah, I mean, my first impression, I'm going to give it I'm going to give this a solid 4. I'm going to give it a 4.4.
I'm good. In the neighborhood. I'm going to give this a 4. Yeah, I'm close. My first reaction was 4.2, so I'm going to go with 4.2, which is pretty strong for our rankings.
Anything above a 4 is solid.
Yeah, so
very good.
Yeah, definitely more drinkable. There's no sweetness to it. It's just a nice.
No sweet. Yeah, that's the one thing, because I had, because I'm basing it, and it may be, the beer that I had on last episode may have something to do with it. The fact, the Imperial Ale, because it had a little sweetness to it, but this has no sweetness whatsoever. But I really like it because you can really taste the, you got that coffee flavor, but I don't have a real strong aftertaste.
Yeah.
With the coffee. That's good to me.
Like I said, the best way to describe it is like a Guinness with a shot of cold brew in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which when I used to be in Knoxville, we go to Honeybee Cafe.
Honeybee, yeah.
And they have a couple brews there that you can get on tap. And they would add a cold brew shot to any of them you wanted to. And I would do that in the afternoons.
Right.
Sometimes in the morning, depending on the morning. But, most of the time I
good place.
All right, well, let's roll. So again, if you want some of the coffee, if you were a Black Rifle fan and you're no longer doing business with them for whatever reason, you can go to persuasionbythepint.com/coffee, and that'll redirect you over to the coffee site, and you can learn more about all their coffees. I think they're kind of slowed down for this next week, but you can definitely.
Do they have like a membership type thing where you can?
They do. Okay, they do have a coffee club.
Good. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Black Rifle. I mean, I think they make a good product. But unfortunately, they kind of killed the goose there, with some of their
stances. I was talking to the West, the owner of Invader Coffee. And he's like, yeah, we're getting a lot of their customers recently.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. So that's another marketing lesson right there.
It is. What pay attention to who you're, to me, this is the most obvious, the most obvious lesson in marketing is to pay close attention to your, the people, to your loyal buying group.
Yeah.
The people who love you, your fan base.
Your 1,000 true fans.
And know for sure before you put your, to put something out there that's going to be controversial, that doesn't offend your whole completely, 70% of your market. You might not want to do that,
Yeah.
It's just my opinion.
Yeah. So I think Wall Street might have got a little involved in that.
I would say so. Their investors probably.
I say that was a press release by committee right there.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
So, all right. Well, let's roll into offers so good you'd be stupid to ignore it, or your customers would be stupid to ignore it.
So we teased this book last week. I'm going to hold it up again. Fantastic book by Alex Hormozy.
Yep.
$100 million offers. How to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no. So I've gone through this book pretty much cover to cover. And I would say some really good lessons, some really good takeaway lessons. Nothing's going to probably, for a lot of our listeners, going to be earth shattering, change your whole paradigm. But it does reinforce, Sean, a lot of things that we have talked about time and time again on our show. on building an offer. But I think the thing that we sometimes have to understand is that our offer in this day and age, well, I shouldn't say in this day and age, anytime your offer, just like what how we talked about with Bob on our last episode, it really has to be focused not so much on, um, it's got to be on the offer itself, and you've got to make it so attractive that people do feel stupid, just like the book's, the subtitle says, people feel stupid to say, I'm going to wait on that. You really got to put people in that position, because nowadays in today's, marketplace, online media, online, people buying online and things like that, you lose somebody just for a split second, people click away, and you're likely not to see that person ever again. So you really only have one shot to capture their attention with your offer.
Yeah. I found the book, in the first, if you're already familiar with direct response and some of those things, I'd say the first half of the book is going to feel a lot like a repeat.
Yep.
But then it really started getting into some nuance of the way he sees things, and some exercises that I thought were really valuable in there.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go through the book, so I say that so that if you pick up the book and you start reading, you're like, well, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
Stick with it, because as you go through the book, it gets stronger and stronger, and
it does.
It gets more nuanced of Alex's perspective and some of the things he's learned creating his offers, which took him in, I think it was 3 to 5, somewhere in 3 to 5 year range. I don't remember exactly, from literally nothing to, 100 million.
Right.
So it's pretty good, especially in a world where, a lot of the people we follow, internet marketers, direct response, they think they've made it big when they hit like 3 million or 5 million. 10 million's crazy. And this guy comes along, in a pretty crowded niche, gyms.
Yeah. Right.
Basically local marketing, right? I mean, it's something that's been around for a long time, and, goes from 0 to 100 million in record time. So definitely got some nuance there, the way he sees the world, that is worth checking out.
Yeah.
So what were some of your big takeaways?
Well, I ordered this book a couple of weeks ago, talking to a friend of ours, talking to David, our friend who was going through the book. He sent me a text with a picture of one of the pages, and I was like, what book is this? Because it was intriguing to me. Yeah. And so he gave me the name of the book. I'm just a schlep who I've never heard of the book before. You've probably read it a long time ago, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna grab this.
I think I got it in, because it just came out in August, I think.
Okay, all right,
July or August, so it's fairly new.
Well,
but it did go around the internet marketing world pretty quick.
Yeah, right. And so, and because of the fact that I'm kind of in the, I try to stay in the internet marketing world to kind of, see what's going on occasionally, but I'm mostly in the marketing sales world outside of that, where it's it's really B2B sales and so forth. So, but I tell you, this book really opened my I would say opened my mind, not so much to new ideas, but to just remind me of how to repackage things in such a way where you're not selling, where you feel like sometimes you're selling a commodity, like you're talking about Alex, who's selling, gyms and, in the fitness industry. I mean, it feels like such a retread industry.
Yeah, because he's really talking, like I said, about local marketing, which was really hot in the internet marketing world like 10 years ago, right? It's like, teach gyms how to get customers, teach dentists how to get customers, teach whoever. And he's doing the same thing. He's going to gyms and he's helping them get customers and close more sales, right? But
absolutely.
So he's teaching the same stuff, but from a different perspective and a much more profitable perspective as well. I mean, obviously you don't get to 100 million selling cheap marketing stuff. You got to go a little bit higher ticket.
Right.
But he gives away a lot. And this is where the whole idea of the offer comes in. His offer is so good that he puts together for these gym owners that they're like, How can I say no to that?
That's right.
And they don't.
Yeah. Well, in reading through this book, it spurred me on to, I took one of my big industrial clients out to dinner a couple of weeks ago after I was going through this book. And literally, I took him out, we played golf. Really nice place down in Alabama, a really nice golfers, it's a private club. So we're having dinner afterward. So one of the things that we got into conversation about is like, reading this book is like, what are some things, like, I know you're a current client, but what are some things that attract you, to do business with us? And how can you, I'm looking for feedback from you, even though you're a buyer,
Right.
of ways that you can help me to up my game in terms of my offer. If,
Yeah.
when I'm out there trying to sell to other, customers who are just like you, look just like you. And so literally went to dinner with him and had a, we were just having open dialogue conversation there, over dinner and a few drinks. And he's just telling me, well, here's what you should do. You should offer not only your, the product that you offer, the polymer, the composite product that you offer, but you should also offer solutions on top of that. And one of the things that attracts us is that you have, there's you provide a monitoring system, so that our tank levels, and what our usage rate is on a regular basis. You have all that data that you can present to us, and whether you know it or not, he was telling me this, whether you know it or not, that's a huge advantage. You give us the data on our usage, our percentage, what our tank levels are. You're always monitoring that so that you can tell us, and we never have to worry about running out, because you guys are on top of that. So I
That's
was
good
like, oh, that's
insight.
interesting, because sometimes you need your customers or your clients to tell you the things that you sometimes overlook, things that
Yeah.
you take advantage of, that say, yeah, those are mundane things. What are we really good at? And they're like, no. Wait a minute. You're really good at this.
And we actually don't care about the product at all.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. Because and that's, to his credit, that's exactly almost what he was saying, is like, your product is great and everything, but here's what we really attracts us to what you do, what your company does.
Yeah.
And it's a monitoring system that never allows us to run out, because we use your product on a regular basis. And we have too many other things to think about without thinking about, do we have enough, or is the truck coming in? And if we run out, it really affects our production. We can't run production without your product.
And to give people some perspective that listening that may not have ever worked in this type of environment and big industrial environment, because I used to do conveyor belts for wood mills and things like that. When those production lines go down,
that's money.
It costs tens
Big
of
time.
thousands of dollars sometimes per minute, sometimes per hour.
Yeah.
But the cost of the actual product is almost insignificant compared to the cost of production time.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense that, if they're staying ahead of, product needs, and you're monitoring that from a distance, and you can get supply there just in time or ahead of time, that's worth a lot more than the product itself.
Absolutely.
Because the product is just one ingredient in the whole process.
It is. It really is. It's one thing that they can substitute with something else, but they can't substitute a complete package system that helps them,
right,
with the assurance of knowing that, because their job's on the line. If they ever run out, they can get fired. These are engineers, they're process engineers that are in place. They're hired for a reason, to make things run like they're supposed to. There's ever a glitch and they don't have product to run and their production goes down, guess what? Their job's at stake. They get fired for that. So they're looking for, from their standpoint, if you're selling to, industrial engineers, or you're selling to, anyone in the production space, one thing that I learned is that you got to sell them a surety, assurance of knowing that they're not going to have to worry about that. It's job security for them to know that, there's a company on the other end of that product that's making sure that their needs are taken care of, that they don't have to worry about monitoring. They can focus on their job without having to worry about running out or anything like that. So sometimes you have to look beyond just the product itself and look at all the additional advantages that you can create for your customer. And that comes into the offer. So he was sitting here telling me over dinner, I'm going to tell you this, it's not your product, it's your service, man. That is the ultimate, it's the incredible offer.
Which then allows you to go in and think completely differently about pricing, because it's not actually about price.
That's right.
As salespeople, even the best salespeople, especially when we see clients over and over and over, we do start to we want to do the path of least resistance is to try to do a better deal, right?
Absolutely.
Usually lower price.
Yep.
To be honest, right? That's the that's the path of least resistance. So we think, but it's actually, so having that information then allows you to go in and now talk about your product as a package of product, service, maintenance, fewer downtime, peace of mind, all the stuff we've talked about on this show.
Right.
Instead of it just being here's the price, here's the number of units you get, blah, 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 which is very logical. Now you can talk about peace of mind, which is very emotional.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the tanks running out when you're watching your kid play soccer on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. So that creates a new offer for my, for prospects now, for customers who aren't, or prospects who aren't doing business with me, is imagine having that peace of mind, knowing that, like you said, peace of mind, knowing that you'll never run out of material, knowing that your process will never come to a halt. So
it actually allows you to hold your price with more conviction too.
Yeah.
It's I don't need the low ball because I know what I've got. I've got service on top of that.
That's right. That's right. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, those are things that, like I said, they're not earth shattering in terms of, whoa, I didn't know this, but they're a good reminder. And it helped me to go back, just reading through this, helped me to go back and say, what are some offers that you can help me, and sometimes you have to have those conversations with your customers to say, can you help me, because, I'm so into this, I know you're buying from us, you're happy, but tell me why you're happy.
Yeah.
Tell me why you're happy, and tell me what the offer is that really excites you about doing business with me. So
yeah, that's a good way to start constructing your offer. And there's other tips in the book. We're not going to go to all of them, but it's definitely a book worth grabbing. Even this week, because a lot of people have downtime between next week, or this week between New Year's and Christmas. That'd be a good time to go through this as a workbook, because there are some workbook type things you need to do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, getting that feedback from clients is what's going to allow you to craft that kind of offer that makes it irresistible, or makes it,
right.
An offer that's just too good, an offer they can't refuse. Right.
That's right. Straight from The Godfather.
Yes. Got to get a movie reference in. Speaking of movies, this wasn't on the docket, but we both saw Spider-Man last week.
Oh, fantastic. Loved
Talk
it.
about a marketing success, right? I mean, we've talked on here before. Eugene Schwartz has said, you should be seeing all the blockbuster movies if you're a copywriter or marketer, to get a kind of feel for what the U.S. or what the population in general, what the mass market is into at the moment. And Spider-Man broke some records. I mean,
huge records.
First, I think $260 million the first weekend, which is second, I think, only to Endgame. So in a still semi-pandemic state of, theaters and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, our theater was packed, sold out.
As was ours. Yeah. Completely. We had to get reserved seats. We went last weekend. I think you did too.
Yep.
We had
We
to
went
get
to the
I had to get reserved seating just to make sure that we had a seat.
yeah.
And I got to tell you, so I don't know how you
No
judge.
spoilers. No
No
spoilers.
spoilers. I'm not doing any spoilers, but I will tell you one way to gauge the, um, I guess the crucial elements of a movie, especially in this one, was how many. I mean, how many exciting applauses you get throughout the movie. And I don't know about your audience, the audience that you were, when you saw the movie, but I got to tell you, there were certain scenes throughout the movie that got huge. I mean, like major standing ovations, like applause type,
Yeah.
just yells, cry, people exciting
Yeah.
that come on at certain points in the movie. Um,
Not
they're
just
kind
the
of like
end, or not
hidden
just the
gem.
yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just the end or just the climax, right?
No. Yeah.
This was like milestone moments throughout
Yes,
the
throughout the movie.
movie.
Right. And a lot of it has to do with, we talk about nostalgia. We talk about the,
Mhm.
nostalgia plays a huge part in marketing.
Yep.
And I think that that's an element to this movie series, tying up some loose ends. And that's all I'll
Yep.
say. But,
Yeah.
with
I
the
was like, you're getting
nostalgia.
close. Easy there.
But it's I think there's a huge nostalgia effect that plays into this movie, and it's what's creating the impact that it's having throughout theaters, because
Well, I
it's
mean,
breaking records in
yeah,
terms
well, I
of.
mean, you think too, we've talked a lot in here, storytelling and some open
Mhm.
loops and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
the end of the last movie was this giant open loop. Like, oh my God, what's going to
Yeah.
happen?
Yep.
Everybody now knows who he is.
Yep.
And that's where it picks up. So you've been wondering. I mean, my daughter is a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
So she's like, I've been waiting 2 years for this. Like she's the one that watches all the the trailers and the
Yeah.
interviews and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So she was super excited to see it. Our theater didn't. I did read somebody else online, a friend of mine on Facebook, who said the same thing about their audience that you said. Our
Mhm.
audience was a little more subdued. There was
Oh, okay.
definitely like some gasps and stuff, but we were
Yeah.
we were in like a cinema theater with the recliners, so
Sure.
it's not as many people.
Right.
But there were definitely some gasps, and there were some like you could hear that, but nobody like actually broke out in applause. Which I was a little disappointed. I guess I could have started it, but I didn't. Maybe because everybody was eating still.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. But
Well, I counted two major points of applause,
yeah,
and it was related to two
that's enough.
to 2 points, 2 points in the movie.
2 plot points. We'll just call it that. So
2 plot points of 2 characters.
yeah.
Okay, I've said enough.
And I will say, this is not a spoiler, but there are 2 extra endings in the movie.
Yes.
Not just one.
Oh, yeah.
So there's the one that's like when the credits are starting kind of thing. And then there's one at the very, 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 very end of the credits.
Well, there's a social proof right there, because I want after the first, because you always expect one,
for Marvel,
one final scene.
Yeah.
So after that first one, I was like, okay, let's get up, and then you look around and like almost the whole audience is still staying seated. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, there's something I don't know here, because obviously, this many people would not be still seated if they didn't know something. So I'm going to stay seated. And my wife, my kids, and some extended family were like, okay, we'll just stay here and see what's going on.
Yeah. And that in itself is a brilliant marketing move, because it's the open loop thing.
Yep.
So they opened up 2 loops with the 2 different things, and both of them like, oh my God, I got to see that,
Yep.
And now I got to wait 2 years probably for those to come out, but they plant that worm in your head, and then you just got to wait. So
yeah, anticipation. I mean, it's just incredible how they can hide things so well.
Yeah.
And just create that anticipation. I think,
and how Marvel in general, especially since they've taken over Spider-Man, but how they can weave the writers at Marvel, how they can weave in so many backstories and connect them all flawlessly is just amazing. Like, so, they they tie up a lot of stuff from past movies, both in Spider-Man and in other, areas of Marvel, and they link them all in there in just a genius way, I think.
Absolutely.
So,
they have got a incredible moneymaker in this whole. They have found a way. I mean, can you imagine this, Sean? They have found a way with this multiverse now. To create all sorts of. I mean, this is like this is like billions of dollars right there. They're just pulling from the tree. They're like, let's just create a multiverse, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
how many franchises can you go back to Avengers Endgame?
Right.
How many franchises can you kill off half or more of the leading characters?
Right.
And just the next movie's just as big.
Exactly.
I mean, that's pretty amazing to think about.
It is. It really
but you're invested in the entire thing, not just one character. You're invested in the entire, universe, so to speak.
Yep.
So
now I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
So you're a Marvel franchise fan.
Yes.
Have you seen the Eternals?
I have not. I have not watched any. We don't have Disney Plus. Okay. So I've not watched any of those, but I did not go see the Eternals. I did not go see the one with the rings or whatever.
I didn't either.
So that's interesting. But those characters were totally new. They didn't tie back to.
They didn't. Yeah.
The original.
I didn't recognize any of those.
Characters. Right. So I did go see Black Widow because, she's part of that world. Same with Spider-Man. He's part of that world now. So I think had they done a better job with the Eternals, and I can't remember what the other one was called. Shang something or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that one either.
I think had they done a better job, like tying them in either earlier in an earlier movie or making the trailers so that you could see the connection, I think that would have helped a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
But then there's a lot of stuff going on Disney Plus, and it was funny.
Oh, I know.
My daughter was there. She's like, my daughter was like, I think I got to buy Disney Plus now. Because she wants to see the Loki and the Wanda and all this stuff going on.
Yeah, because there's a tie-in. I mean,
yeah. So, all right. Before we spoil anything, we'll move on. So you're wearing a hat from one of my favorite places, Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's.
Yes. We talked about Buc-ee's on the show. They're here in Texas, but now they're spreading out. They're in Alabama. They're building 2 locations in Tennessee on major spots.
Yeah.
They're in Georgia.
Right.
So you had some thoughts about Buc-ee's.
Yeah, so I was at one of the Buc-ee's this past week down in Georgia. I was traveling back from Atlanta. There's a new one in Calhoun, Georgia. I think the exit, it's like 312. I even know the exit, but you can't miss it.
That's like a Daresville, couple exits
around that. Yeah. But I mean, you can't miss it because marketing lesson, Buc-ee's,
there's billboards for 500 miles. That's why you can't miss it.
Billboards, you see them. I mean, it's like
Sea Rock City.
Sea Rock City. That's exactly what comes to mind is Sea Rock City.
And
they're so clever too about the bathrooms and about the the brisket, the beaver nuggets, which I'm a huge fan of the beaver nuggets. And, brisket sandwiches, man, so good.
Well, if you didn't grow up in the Rock on I-75 corridor where you would have seen the Sea Rock City signs, if you grew up on the I-95 corridor, you might have remembered south of the border, which was kind of the same thing. There's this huge rest stop right below the North Carolina, South Carolina border, I think.
Right.
And it was a big, it was a modern, old time kind of Buc-ee's type stop. But I think they had amusement park and everything there.
Yeah.
At that one. But so it's like south of the border of Sea Rock City. So Buc-ee's is taking that same idea and just
absolutely
billboards for hours before you get to the destination.
Yep.
And by then you have to stop.
You have to stop.
Like, I got to check. I don't know what this is about, but I got to check it out. And then once you stop, you're hooked.
Absolutely hooked.
So you found an article or something?
Yeah. So I was reading through. You can always find, if you, thanks to Google, if you're lazy enough and you are looking for content, you can simply type in Buc-ee's and marketing, and you, and you can get a simple article that talks about the marketing strategies that help Buc-ee's dominate the competition. Now, here's an interesting point that I didn't realize, though, Sean. I was reading through this article, and according to Gas Buddy, I don't know if you have you use the Gas Buddy app. It's that it's the thing where you can compare gas prices everywhere.
Yep.
Close to where you are. But so a study from the travel app Gas Buddy found that 40% of Americans worry about finding a clean restroom on a road trip. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize this was such a concern. I would say that if you break this down by the demographic of male to female, right? I wonder what that percentage would be. I'm just curious. But 40%, I mean, which is that's a huge segment of the population, is really worried about finding a clean restroom on a road trip.
I think we're kind of lucky just growing up in Knoxville in that kind of area.
Yeah.
We've had either Pilot.
Yeah.
Some big
Flying J, Pilot, whatever.
There's a lot of places that you're going to stop for gas that have pretty clean restrooms.
Sure. Right.
But yeah, when you get out a little bit, it's like even going from Knoxville to Asheville. Like if you miss that last exit before you get in the mountains going to Asheville, you don't know what you're going to get in a couple of those stations on the two exits that are there. It's like, so I totally get that. Like, I mean, my daughter's like that. My wife and daughter, like,
yeah, I get it too. I mean,
they're like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I say, well, here's a place. They're like, no, we're not stopping there.
Nope.
If you got to have a key tied to a giant paddle or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's right around the back of the back of the gas station. You got to go back there and unlock it. Forget it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you ever, and here's the thing, if you ever walk into a Buc-ee's, which, if you stop at a Buc-ee's, which I did this past week, you make a pit stop, you go in the restroom, then you end up buying some things, which I actually did it's amazing. Once they got you in there, it's like they lock you in because you're walking around. Yeah. It's its own universe. You come out of the restroom and you're like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm going to buy some beaver nuggets just as a snack. Oh, wait a minute. There's like 50,000 things I could buy as Christmas gifts here that are, they've got everything from apparel to, home goods. I mean, you name it, they've got it there. I mean, it's not like junk stuff. Some of it's like actually high quality stuff, high name brand, big name brand.
The closest thing I compare is like the gift section in a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, exactly.
But imagine literally 50 times the size.
Yeah. I remember stopping at a Buc-ee's, I went on a fishing trip back in April, down in so I went down to Texas, Louisiana. I was doing some fishing and I stopped at Buc-ee's and pretty much got all of my fishing, a lot of the fishing apparel that I was going to wear, because they get a lot of hook and Columbia gear and stuff like that, solid name brands.
Yeah, they kind of have the stuff that every Buc-ee's has, and depending on location, they have like special stuff. Like the ones near the beach have more lawn chairs or beach chairs and that kind of stuff. And fishing destinations,
boat shoes, everything. Yeah, you can buy shoes there. It's crazy.
It's like a little mini Walmart.
But here's the thing: the clean restrooms is what pulls people in. Absolutely. It says you look at some of the billboards, and some of the billboards. Here's some of the billboards, and I'll use these as an example. Our aim is to have clean restrooms. Your aim will help. 19 miles. So you go into a Buc-ee's, and if I pull this up here for our listeners, I'm going to share this. Let's see, share screen
for our viewers.
Yeah, for our viewers here.
By the way, if you're not a viewer and you want to be a viewer, you can go to YouTube, look up Persuasion by the Pint, set your notifications, hit the like button, subscribe button, and you can see some of these amazing images of restrooms that we put on our show.
World's famous restrooms.
World famous restrooms. So the men's room probably has what, 50 urinals and
Easily.
25 stalls.
Easily. I mean, there's so much room. You walk into that, you think you would get lost in one of the restrooms.
It feels. I think my daughter said, like, it feels like you at an airport.
It does. It really
Like
does.
the crowd and the ambiance and like the restroom, like everything just feels like you're almost like you're at an airport. It's just that kind of hecticness. Every people going all kinds of directions, full, lots of that ambient sound of people talking. But yeah, they've got the restrooms. They've got the deli section. They've got the brisket sandwiches are amazing.
My favorite section is the center. What is it? The barbecue counter where they're throwing out the barbecue sandwiches.
Yeah, and if you're there in the morning, it's breakfast tacos.
Oh man, I got to get one of those. I haven't come through a Buc-ee's during breakfast
during the morning.
Yeah.
So it's brisket tacos, all breakfast tacos. So good stuff. Yeah, and then you got the basic little mini Walmart there going on.
Yeah,
the home goods section.
They've got their own apparel too, which I mean, people love to just pick up. So I was just watching as I went in last week. I picked up a few things, a few Christmas items, nothing huge, but they had a few things that I wanted to pick up that were Georgia related, because you don't get many Georgia related things up in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, I was just kind of watching. I was like watching the crowd, and people were just going. I mean, this place was jam packed, and people were pulling things off the shelf. I mean, I can't imagine what they pulled in a single day, just from people just stopping in from Christmas shopping. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And all from a slogan of we have the cleanest restrooms around. I mean, not to mention they have like 100 gas pumps, that you can pull into.
Yeah. Which that's not, and by the way, for people listening, that's not an exaggeration. The 100 gas pumps, like that's probably on the low end. I think I counted one of the places and it was like 156 gas pumps.
Yeah. Easily.
So, it's crazy. Some of the new ones are even bigger.
Yeah.
200 plus gas pumps, and they're all full.
Yep.
And they do have lower price gas, which draws people in.
Yep. It does. It attracts people. Clean bathrooms.
And cheap gas.
Cheap gas. I mean, that's your combination. Here's the thing. And then once you get people in, you got all this other stuff.
Then they like the food. The sandwiches are good. Like the food's quality. It's quick. You can just pick it up and go. Because even a lot of the truck stops now, fast food places inside them are so slow.
Yeah.
And this is like, it's just lined up there. You grab it and you go. And
they're just slinging out sandwiches on the, at the center. I mean, they're throwing out brisket sandwiches, and
I would love to, we'll have to see if we can find some stats. Like, remember the varsity stats from, the number of hot dogs they do and the number of burgers they do. And I bet Buc-ee's is got to be rivaling those numbers.
I tell you. That's another weakness of mine is varsity. You start talking about that chili dog at the varsity.
Dog, yeah. That was Sonic before there was Sonic.
Oh, man, so good.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I've talked about that brisket sandwich from Buc-ee's. To me, I would say it's probably one of the best brisket sandwiches of any place I've ever had a brisket sandwich.
Yeah.
So that includes, I mean, I've eaten a lot of barbecue, and it's hard to get good brisket, but I'm going to tell you, that's a good brisket sandwich.
Yeah. So the lesson there is like, you got to have the good advertising to get people in, and then you need a good quality product once they're
Absolutely.
in to keep them coming back.
That's
then it's just the word of mouth marketing.
Yep.
I mean, I told you about it. Then you see the billboards and everything else. So when you're in the area, you're going to go. But and I've told several friends that live back in Tennessee. I'm like, oh man, when those things open, you got to go. You got to go. It's an experience.
This is hilarious because my wife is like, I don't get the attraction. It's just a big gas station.
Yeah.
And so I brought home some Buc-ee nuggets, and she's like, oh, those are good.
Yeah. So she hasn't been to one yet, right?
She's been to one, but she's like, she hasn't tasted, she hasn't tasted the sandwiches and the
beaver nuggets,
Buc-ee nuggets, the beaver nuggets.
Yeah.
So I let her have some beaver, she had some beaver nuggets this week.
Yeah.
Wow, those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's starting to be kind of a nationwide thing because they strategically put their stores in thoroughfares where you're
Yeah,
going on the way to a destination.
absolutely.
But yeah, it just, we've talked
Major
about
arteries.
experiences.
Yeah,
It's actually an experience to go to Buc-ee's.
it is.
Like there's something about it.
And if you're looking for a restroom that is completely clean,
that's the place
place to
to go.
go.
Yep.
You'll
Got you.
never stand in line at a Buc-ee's waiting for a
Well, the
restroom.
women's side you might. The
Maybe, yeah.
one we went to in Alabama, they had a line back to the exit door.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was like beach weekend, a Saturday in the summer when all the
Yeah.
or not timeshares, but the weekly rentals turn over.
Yep.
So it was just packed. But
Sure.
all right, so let's wrap up. I got 3 questions for you, Jonathan.
All right.
It's kind of a best of 2021. So this may require your thinking cap instead of your Buc-ee's cap. Well, what's the best book you read this year? Or reread?
Reread. Best book.
Could be the first time you read it, or I know you were rereading a couple things this year, but best book this year of 2021.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. Because I want to make sure 2021 and not 2020.
Yeah. Those years do kind of run together. So
yeah, I know. It's like it's the last 2 years. I would have to say, I was gonna say Thinking Fast and Slow by
was that this year or was that last year?
but that was last year because that's a problem. I was like,
you do reference that one a lot. You really like that one.
I love that book.
Yeah,
I love that book. That's probably one of in my top 5 all-time best books is Thinking Fast and Slow. Let's see. This year, I'm trying to think new books this year, or you said reread, right?
Yeah, it could be first time read or reread because I think you were rereading a couple this year too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do mine while you're thinking real quick. So,
go ahead.
and this may be recency bias kicking in, but it's actually the book I'm reading right now.
Okay.
Which is, I just found this. It's called Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher. It's actually from 2006, and I just discovered it. And I just discovered Barbara Sher. She actually passed away recently.
Oh, no.
But it's about, it says, refuse to choose. Use all of your interests, passions, and hobbies to create the life and career of your dreams. So it's for people who have a lot of interest and want to do a lot of things and how to kind of do all of them without being crazy, which, for people who are single track minded, that's hard to understand. But for those of us that have varied interest and all over the place, it's fascinating. So it's been really fun to read and get into, and like giving me permission to be a little bit crazy with all my crazy ideas instead of being paralyzed by the number of choices. So
kind of like the book Arranged that we were talking about. Like
kind
of having a diversity of interest that you can tap
the
into.
difference with that book is that book, it the way it frames it really talks about having the foundation of diversity, but then going into one thing.
Gotcha.
Whereas this is more like do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. It's a little more complicated than that, but like that there's certain types of people that the way their brain works, they need the stimulus and the creativity of trying a bunch of different things and not necessarily finishing them the way a lot of people would.
Okay.
Because that's how they think and that's how they solve problems and everything else. So so dipping in, becoming Tim Ferriss is a guy that would fit that, right? He said on his show, like I can learn 20% to become 80% competent and then move on to something else.
Sure. Yeah.
Joe Rogan's another, I think, a modern day person like that. He's an MMA announcer. He's got a podcast that covers everything under the sun, it seems like. And then
did Fear Factor.
Did Fear Factor. He's a working stand-up comic still. He travels the circuit. So he's doing a lot of different things. And she makes a good argument that in the 1950s with the space race, the U.S. was in trauma of being beaten by the Russians, and they went into specialization mode, and that's when like engineers and specialized things became like the gold standard.
Okay.
Was previous to that, generalists were pretty accepted. Benjamin Franklin, all this, a lot of things. So it was just a really good like reframe of the way my brain works, things like that.
Yeah.
So all right, did I stall long enough to give you a good book? If
Yeah.
not, we'll move on
I think
to
so.
the next best.
So I think most of this year has been rereading a lot of stuff. I mean, I picked up some books along the way, but nothing that is just really just been life changing.
Right.
But I tell you, one of the books that I've reread this past year, and I'll go ahead and hold it up because I grabbed it. It's been on my desk, is Robert Greene.
Yeah.
So
love this stuff.
This one is the laws of human nature. For and I've got all of his books on the laws of power, the laws of war, all of those. He's actually a really good. He does a lot of really good research, and
I love the way he writes his book with historical examples and
exactly
all that
uses
stuff. Yeah.
So many historical examples. This one, what comes to mind, what's so important about this one is that the laws of human nature, and I would say, I think he published this one back in 2018, but actually picked it up and have been rereading it this past year. I think everyone needs to go through this book because, one of the things I was thinking about one of the things that reminded me of this book this past week was one of the articles about, and I'm not trying to get into political discussion, but, talking about the push to get people on vaccines from the CDC and so many other people in, they're really on the, pushing the effort to get people vaccinated, have failed miserably. I'll be honest with you. They've done a terrible job because so many people, are not convinced of vaccines. And I'm one of them. I think that, I love natural immunity. I do a lot of, reading and researching on my own time on how to create my own immunity. I've actually had COVID, so I know that from one from that experience alone, I'm doing pretty well. But I was reading an article this past week. I wish I could pull it up, and it's on one of my other computers. But one of the guys, one of the major doctors within the CDC was saying, basically saying, we should have done more research on human behavior because we've done a terrible job of really promoting, vaccines or pushing vaccines. And he was actually surprised at the people that have really pushed back at the whole idea of getting, one vaccine after another.
Was it Dr. Francis Collins, head of the NIH?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he must be making the rounds. He was on CBS Sunday Morning. He did an interview.
Yes.
And that's what he said. He's like, I underestimated the hesitancy of people.
Right. Right.
I was like, why would you underestimate that? Like,
absolutely.
You forced it on people. People don't like to be forced into anything.
People hate to be forced into anything. And that's why I think that understanding human behavior, human motivation, that's rule number one. And these guys fell just miserably at doing, understanding the motivation behind what, people hate to be forced into something. That's rule number one. If you tell me that I have to do something, that I'm forced to do something regardless.
Yeah. I mean, just that there's probably a third of the population.
Yeah.
That is just going to resist just because you said,
right.
They're going to say black just because you say white. They're going to say left because you say right. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're just contrarians, And then those people spill over into people that are trying to decide.
Right.
And that's how you end up with a 50-50 split. You got
Absolutely.
the 30% that are always going to adopt whatever they're told. You got the 30% that are always going to resist whatever they're told to do. And then that middle 40% is going to be swayed kind of by the other sides. And I mean, if you don't realize that as a politician or a health director or whatever, hey, you're just not paying attention to how human nature works. So I saw that. I saw a similar thing this week, and I was like, really? You thought that would just be a walk in the park if you start forcing it on people? Like if it had just been a volunteer only thing, they could have got higher adoption a lot quicker.
Well, this would have been the book that I would have sent every one of them, although I don't want them to accomplish that. But if they were trying to, because I think, obviously I believe in the free will of people to, handle their own health affairs. But if they were trying to adopt, a strategy, they should have read this book first, The Laws of Human Nature, which I've gone back through this past year. And it just reminded me when I saw that interview with him that, they have no clue, it's like, going back to what you were saying, not being a generalist, being so, specific in your field that you ignore human behavior.
They probably don't watch Marvel movies either.
I doubt it.
That's probably beneath them.
But that's, to me, that's the detriment of being, so focused in a field that you ignore everything else.
Or the whole ivory tower. The ivory tower syndrome type thing, where you're up in your ivory tower doing your stuff.
Right.
All right. So the next thing is best thing you bought this year.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay. Was it a golf
Remarkable. Club? I love the Remarkable tablet.
I bet you get to use yours a lot more than I do mine because you're out with people and things like that. So I really like mine. I wouldn't put it as my best buy of the year. So I've got two. I had a tie for mine. So yours is Remarkable tablet.
Remarkable tablet. Remarkable 2.
Yeah,
because that's the newest one where I think I have it right here.
And back when we bought them, now all those early adopters, not super early, but early this year, got like free cloud storage for life or something.
Oh yeah.
Because now that's an add-on.
No doubt. Yep.
So that was a nice perk when I got that email. I would say that the two things that I've bought this year that I think are my best buys are one is the tonal, which I've had for about 12 weeks now.
I was going to ask you about that.
Lot.
Yeah, so, I saw that and I bookmarked that. So
yeah, I've really enjoyed it. For those who don't know, it's a strength training system that basically hangs on your wall. It replaces the whole gym, pretty much. Digital weights. So it's kind of like a cable machine, but it's super compact and it uses digital weights. There's no stacks of weights or anything like that.
How much space does it take up?
The actual unit is probably 18 inches wide. It's probably 45 inches tall, and it hangs, like you're looking in a mirror.
Okay.
But then the arms come out. They say you need like 7 by 7 foot floor space.
Okay.
Which is, I would say, is about right.
Okay.
I've got a 6 foot by 8 foot mat that I bought, which seems to be just about perfect because it's a cable machine. So the arms that come up, they do spread out depending on which movement you're doing.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed at how you can do the weight, and the digital weight definitely feels heavier than at the same pounds of free weights.
Okay.
And it's got like different modes where you can do chains, which the weight gets heavier as you move up. It's got an eccentric, which the weight gets heavier as you move down if you're doing bench press on the gravity movement.
Okay.
And then it's got this thing called Smart Flex where it literally changes the weight throughout the range of motion depending on the exercise you're doing. So if you're doing bicep curls, there's a couple dead areas in your bicep curl, just because the way your anatomy is. So it will add or take away weight depending on where you are in the motion.
Wow.
And so it's
amazing.
Yeah. So it's all this AI stuff and pretty cool. So that's and my strength.
That's cool.
They do an assessment when you get it. You take this little test. You do an assessment. They give you a strength score, and in 11 weeks, 12 weeks, my strength score is up 30%.
Wow.
So it's not like muscle mass is up 30%, but my strength score is up 30%.
Okay.
So
okay. I got to pause here because I got to take a bathroom, but I got to ask you some follow up real quick on that.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to wait.
I'll be ready
like
when you get back.
All right. Give me a second.
I will use this dead air time here to talk about coffee. If you didn't see our opening and our beer, it's a Bad Santa beer from Infamous Brewing. And it is brewed with Bad Santa coffee, which is a veteran-owned brand from Invader Coffee. And you can find out more about that if you want, or if you choose. You can go to persuasionbythePint.com/coffee. We've set up a link there that will redirect you to their site. And if you choose to buy from there, we do get a commission, just so you know. They didn't ask us to do this, but they do have an affiliate program. And I'm a really big fan of their coffee. Super smooth, no aftertaste. Just go on there and read some of the reviews. Some of them are hilarious, comparing the coffee to other popular brands. So, yeah, that's persuasionbythepint.com/coffee. And that's it. I just did a little promo for our coffee again.
Oh, good.
So, all right. So you got some questions on the old tonal, which is one of my 2 best purchases of the year.
So I've looked at that and I have bookmarked that because I'm trying to weigh the benefits of going back to, because I canceled my gym membership back during COVID.
Right.
And then I set up my own little, I've got a bench set, free weights, squat rack, everything here in the office. But
yeah,
to me, I want kind of a family type thing that we can be a member of. But I'm thinking, this tonal thing looks pretty good too. So comparatively, comparing that to a gym membership, which for me, for a full family, would be about $99 a month.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this tonal thing looks pretty good.
Well, here's the thing. So if it was just you, I don't know, it'd be 50-50. Like, I know you bench pretty heavy. You bench what, 450 or something like that?
Not quite.
So the one thing about the tonal is it maxes out at 200 pounds.
Okay. All right.
But that feels like, they say the digital weight is about 25% heavier than free weights.
Oh, okay.
So that would max it out at about 250, which for squats, could be not heavy enough. Of course, you just do more reps.
Sure.
So there's ways around that. And your bench press, you may come to a limit too. But pretty much any other movement, that's more than enough for most people, right?
Okay.
So for you and I, we might hit some upper limits in certain moves, but I'm not ever going to hit 200 pounds on bicep curls or tricep extensions or a lot of the other stuff that I might do.
Okay.
The positive side is it's just like Peloton or any other of these devices. You can have as many members on it under one membership as you want.
Okay.
So we have the whole family. So we've got myself, Tamara, and Sydney are all on one membership, and you can just log in. It remembers you and all that. So you got 3 people, 4 people using it. No problem.
Sure.
What Tamara and Sydney both like about it is they don't know what to do if they go to a gym. They don't know how to put a program together. They don't know.
This has a program.
Yeah. So it's got pre-programmed both like 3 and 4 week programs. It's got one-off workouts you can do.
I like
all that kind of stuff. And they even have live classes, which I don't really use, but I use the program. So that I'm in my 3rd 4-week program. And you can
so what is the all right, so break it down. Total cost of the machine and then the membership for the
machine's expensive. You're looking at, by the time you're out the door with the accessories, which you pretty much have to buy. I don't agree with the way they market that. Their add-ons. I think out the door with tax and everything, it's going to be $3,500 to $4,000.
Okay.
There is a military discount. You have to kind of hunt for it, but it is out there.
Gotcha.
Which saves you about $200 or $300 if you're a veteran or first responders, I think, to get it. And then I think the membership is either $39 or $49 a month.
Okay.
So, but the thing that Tamara's sitting like is they don't have to think about what to do. And what Tamara said the other day is like she's in there working out in the room we have it in, and like she's grunting and making all these noises because like she's really pushing herself. And she's like, I would never do this in a gym. Like I'd be too self-conscious to make those kind of noises in a gym.
Right.
So I think that's another benefit is if you're a little self-conscious in a gym, you'll probably push a lot harder at home than you would in a gym.
Gotcha.
Which means you're going to get better results and everything else. And then just the tracking, like it tracks all your weights, tracks your strength score, tracks your total volume lifted, all that stuff that only very serious people in gym with their spiral notebooks do. Like I enjoy the information, but I hate trying to track all that stuff when I go to a gym or at CrossFit or anything else.
Yeah.
It's like you got to stop and do all this stuff. So, and this remembers where you were at your last weight. So it automatically starts you there. It automatically raises when it thinks you need to be raised. Sure. The AI and all that stuff in it. So those are the advantages. Obviously you lose the social advantage of a gym. If you want to,
which is not, I mean, that's a good thing for me because it's a distraction. I mean, what's your point? If you're going there for to meet people and talk to people,
and
you should find a different location.
Right? Like I wouldn't, to me, it doesn't replace CrossFit or something like that. That's more community based and a little bit different, where there's a lot of cardio and stuff mixed in, where you might have to run 400 meters. Like it won't really replace that. You could do it if you were in a garage and that kind of stuff. But that's not really what it's intended for. It's more traditional strength training type workout. So yeah, I think it's cool. And the shipping time is a little long right now. I think, they kind of go up and down with their supply chain and getting things shipped out, but I wish I'd ordered a year earlier. I can say that. So,
sure. Okay. I'll have to check that out.
And then the other thing I bought that I think was one of my best buys of 2021 was a subscription to Books, which is a flower delivery service.
Okay.
So they have subscriptions, and you could do this for one person, or you can send it to a different address every month. But basically you send out a flower arrangement once a month. So now I have a flower arrangement coming to my wife here at the house every month.
That's awesome.
I don't have to remember it. It's always a surprise because she kind of forgets month to month. And, so it's like, oh, it's that time again.
That's great.
And I don't have to, especially working from home. I just, I don't go out as much.
Sure.
So I don't think about picking stuff up or things like that. She does the grocery shopping, so I don't pick them up at the grocery store.
Sure.
So it's just a good way to automatically have flowers delivered to the house. And they come from the quality is better than you would get at the local florist or the grocery store because they ship them straight from the growers to the house.
Oh, nice.
So they stay fresh longer, and they're not any more expensive than you would get at the grocery store.
And what's the website again?
It's called Books, BOUQS.
Okay.
It's like bouquet, Books.
Yeah.
And we originally saw them on Shark Tank about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And they've been around since. So must be doing pretty well.
Absolutely. That's good.
All right. So last thing before we wrap up, what was your best experience of 2021?
Best experience. Man.
And while you're thinking about that, for our listeners, these are good questions like you could ask around Christmas or New Year's Eve or something like that. Like, what is the best book? What is the best thing you bought? What is the best experience you've had this year?
Yeah.
Best movie you saw this year. Movies are a little down right now other than the ones we've mentioned.
Yeah.
But Matrix is coming out this week. So
Yeah, I've heard some bad. I won't say bad. I mean, I've heard some negative reviews.
Oh,
I
really?
don't. They're probably not all negative,
Yeah.
but it's worth
I might
checking
have to
out.
go check it out over the
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah. It's got
So,
to check it out.
so what?
I would say, some of the travel. I haven't done a ton of travel in 2021, but I
Mhm.
I did go out to.
Your fishing trip, or
Yeah, well, fishing trip was fun, but I would say I love going out to spending some time out in Utah. Back
yeah,
in September for some trade shows. I went out there for a week or so, spent some time out there. Beautiful country. Just doing some hiking and getting some just some just looking. I mean, just kind of taking in the climate out there. It's
yeah,
beautiful, beautiful country out there. But
yeah,
they've got some really cool hiking trails. Things that you can go. I did a lot of just getting out there and exploring. So
yeah, and that's completely different from East Tennessee. Like
yeah,
now that
those
we're in
mountains are different.
Texas, yeah, now
Yep.
that we're in Texas, I'm kind of in between the two, right? We've got
Yep.
semi-desert, but the trees here are
Hmm.
shorter than they are in Knoxville.
Yep.
Not as many of them,
Yep.
so I kind of get that beauty now.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yep.
the desert beauty is very different than
It is.
the
There's something to
forest.
it.
It's just a good different kind of thing. So
Yep.
mine, when I wrote down this question, I didn't actually have an answer, but then as I started thinking about it, I was like, it was interesting. It was while I was at the beach, but it wasn't the whole beach trip. It wasn't
Hmm.
like the whole week was it was one little moment
Hmm.
of the week, which I think is telling, because I think if you can look to create these for your customers and your clients, it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's very little micro experiences
Sure.
that can stick with people. So for me, and it does have to do actually with a Remarkable 2 tablet. Um, but I was at the beach. It was raining that morning. So I was just kind of inside, or I was on the balcony journaling with the Remarkable 2, and like came up with this great little analogy metaphor
Hmm.
about sandcastles and wrote up something about it. But at that moment, for whatever reason, with the coffee and the calmness of the beach,
Oh
especially,
yeah.
like, I love at least one rainy day at the beach.
Hmm.
There's something about rain at the beach that's just different.
Yep.
Um, Maybe it's because you don't have to be anywhere or whatever, but it's just,
That's right. Everybody's in the same situation. They can't go out to the beach, so you don't feel like
yeah,
you're like missing out because
yeah.
no one's out
And it's
there.
perfect
Everybody's
if it's
inside.
like midweek or late week because you're kind of
Right.
tired of the beach.
Yeah. Yep.
And you need a little rest.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was like a rainy day, rainy morning, because a lot of
Yep.
times it'll rain in the afternoon, but this was a rainy morning. But it's just a different view of the beach too, right? Because
Hmm.
you're used to seeing the sun and all that stuff. So when it
Yeah.
rains at the beach, if you don't live there, it's kind of different
Hmm.
and it's a new perspective. But yeah, it was just that little micro moment of journaling while at the beach,
Oh
looking at the
yeah.
ocean, the
Good.
rain, all that kind of stuff. So it's funny how it's nothing big. It was just
Oh yeah.
that little moment.
I love that.
So
It's kind of like during the winter time when you're just sitting by. I love. There's certain things about the winter time that I enjoy. It's
mhm.
less and less as you get older. I used to love the winter. Now I just hate the short days where it gets dark so early.
Yeah.
But one of the things I do love is sitting by the fire because I'll flip the fireplace on. And it's not wood fire, it's gas fire, but it's still like, sitting by the fire, just kind of cozy, reading a good book. Those are the things that I really enjoy during the holiday season
Yep.
because, things kind of slow down in business.
Yep.
Hopefully everybody's kind of at that same place where it's not, you're not, out there, hustling too much during this time. Hopefully you got some time, you got some downtime with the family,
Yep.
and I really enjoy it. There's about 2 weeks, between, with this week and then the week after Christmas up until New Year's, where it's
Yep.
really slow. And I just, I love just kicking my feet up next to the fire in the evening, either watching maybe a bowl, some bowl game on or something like that, or maybe it's playing in the background. But then, just kicking back with a good book. Like you said, having the remarkable tablet, taking some notes, but just relaxing, just that time with family. Sometimes we'll play games or something like that, but it's really just the slow times that really I enjoy the most, as I get older. So
yeah, which I think is what the winter is supposed to be. Like,
it is. It really is.
But we, in our industrialized world, we got lights and all the stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, you're supposed to slow down in the winter.
That's right.
That's nature.
Yeah, exactly.
And we try to hustle through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really good for everything. Reflection.
Good
time for planning. It's a good time for all that stuff.
I tell you, just last night, I really loved it. Just doing simple things, that you break away from business. Like last night, drinking a little bit eggnog with some bourbon, listening to Christmas music and, wrapping Christmas presents and things like that. Can't beat it,
Yeah.
And meanwhile, there's a bowl game going, some meaningless bowl game, on the
Army,
TV.
Missouri. Army won. I was torn. I didn't know who to pull for.
I was pulling for Army all the way. Army all the way, baby.
Do I go Army or do I go SEC? So now the SEC's.
I know. That's a debacle, but I go for Army. In that situation.
So we've got a comment as we wrap up here. Trey Darson said, "How to train hop?" I have no idea. Like actually train hop, Trey? I don't know what you're.
That's a good holiday thing, right? Hopping.
I guess. Nice profile pic too.
Oh, by the way, Sean, I picked this up. This is going to be symbolic for 2022.
Okay.
On our shows. I got a cowbell.
That's you've been down in Mississippi too long.
That's right. Mississippi State, buddy.
Man,
but no,
the other
I get
Bulldogs.
to ring us in.
I like it.
Now when we have a beer. It'll be annoying as hell.
Yeah, that's wow.
All right.
Good stuff.
Well, this has been fun. Yeah. To all of our listeners, hope you have. This will be our, of course, we'll have another episode next week before New Year's. But to all of our listeners out there, hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy the time with family, friends. And Sean, we'll try to do a next episode, maybe let's see. New Year's Eve is next Friday. So we'll try to do an episode next Thursday to kind of close out the year. Should be fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll come up with some really good topics for that.
Yeah.
And
we've got Google. We'll find something.
Exactly. All right, guys. Have a Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Enjoyed it. And to all of our listeners, you can find us persuasionbythepint.com on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. And Sean, we'll see you guys next week on the final episode of 2021.
See ya.
See ya.